So in Halo 2, there has been an area that I haven't been able to get to for 21 years. And the reason is simple. There is no logical way to get there. So, can we do it anyways? Let's get this shot! So the area in question is the bottom of the mission, Gravemind. However, the problem is the mile-long gap between the playable map and the bottom of this mission. There is absolutely no logical way that you could survive a fall in any variation to the bottom of this map. Now, I have been to the bottom of many maps in the original Halo series, but this one I had pretty much just written off because how? Now, in other missions like High Charity, I would use a glitch called the Dead or Alive. This allows one player to be in a dead player's body while alive. And using this glitch, it's really easy to just hit someone to the bottom of the map and then spawn down there. But the problem with Gravemind is the initial room makes pulling off that glitch pretty much impossible. The random elements in that room means that items don't spawn in a normal and predictable count. So we would have to find a different way to get to the bottom of this map, somehow. Okay, so no acrophobia skull for this. And you can't really do the Dead or Alive on this mission to get to the bottom of the map easily, because there's so many different elements that spawn in the first room that are also random, that basically there's not a sequence of events that you could predictably and accurately get a nice item count to match. Try not to get distracted here like I always do. Whoa. You guys ever know these are freaking... Oh, they're all glass. Boom! Oh, what a nifty little area, huh? So really my only idea was to use a jetpack elite once you get to the energy shield bridges in the middle of this mission. If I could jump on top of their head, maybe I could ride them all the way to the bottom. And I knew this was possible because there are videos that exist from people getting to the bottom of the map. However, in the one video that exists from SRL, there was no tutorial included on how to do this. So I would have to reverse engineer this and figure it out. Now, it seemed to me, based upon the video positioning, that SRL was towards the beginning of these conveyor transport belts. So that's where I first started. I killed one of the jetpack elites and then tried to clear out the other enemies in the area, but as this was playing out, I just didn't see a logical way that I would actually be able to ride this to the bottom of the map. These jetpack elites don't stop moving. How do I get him to they're constantly flying, constantly shooting. They're actually one of the most annoying enemies. Now, I knew that there were multiple sets of jetpack elites on this mission, and I didn't think these were the ones. What the And I didn't really have to worry about it too much longer because the brutes ended up killing this last one. The brute killed that one, so that one's not gonna work. Hoop stain. Yeah, I think I need to get on top of this thing. I can't remember if it's this part or the next part. So I knew from playing this mission in the past that eventually the jetpack elites will come out of one of these cross sections, but I couldn't quite remember which one it was. There's like 3 gravity bridge sections on this mission, or 4, or I don't even know. Now at this point, I took a quick YouTube break to see if there was any single example of someone actually getting on top of a jetpack elite's head. I wanted to see how exactly they would do this because in my first interaction, it seemed like it just wasn't going to happen. And then I stumbled upon the legend Grumpy's video. And in this, he gives the exact tutorial that I was always trying to find. And it spelled out exactly what I needed, which was the elites to calm down. Turns out the trick to do this is simpler than I ever thought. If you just walk over this conveyor belt, it will delay the elites from flying to their normal scripted areas towards the beginning of the mission. And it seems like if you got there early enough, well, you could make an elite basically freeze. But now it was just time to implement this strategy. Seems simple enough. Okay, how I'm gonna do this is I need to make one of these elites passive, so shout out to Grumpy. It's the only video I could find on the internet of anybody in Halo 2 showing you how to pacify a jetpack elite. And we're gonna use this jetpack elite to ride to the bottom of the mission. Okay, so if you go on top of this rung here. Oh, shit. So yes, obviously I did mess it up because one of the jetpack elites was dead. I think I just messed it up. And the other one flew off. It seemed like I was not getting there quite fast enough, so my plan was to speed this up a little bit. Yeah, I had a decent checkpoint, actually. Now, I had a decent checkpoint, considering the fact that I was trying to do this solo, which also adds to the difficulty, mind you, but it wasn't that close to the door. So this meant I would have to walk every single time, and I didn't want to have to do that because I was only on the second set of rungs. I still had to walk through an entire other set. This amount of walking alone would make each attempt like a minute long. But I had explosive skulls enabled, like Sputnik and Feather, so I figured, well, if I could just grenade launch, maybe I could make every attempt a little bit faster. Oh shit, I think they already came out the door. In my walking attempts, I also realized that the elites being released from this door might be a time-based sequence. That's not good. So I think I need to rush to get to them before they come out, because what we need to do is trap these jetpack elites, or at least one of them, in this room that they spawn in, and that will basically be the only way that we can pacify them to be able to ride them to the bottom of the map. That means I might need to get my ass to skipping if this is time-based. Stay. Okay. I think it worked. He's only shooting at me a little bit. And his other guy went over there. Oh, shit. Never mind. So knowing that I needed to get there super quickly, using grenades to launch me to this door faster wasn't optional. I basically had to do this. Maybe I can just get there faster. Oh, the brute's f***ing me up. Okay, he's stuck in here. Now I need that guy to go, like, away. Now I need to get him out of this doorway. Now that I had this elite stuck, all I had to do was somehow get him down through the doorway so I could jump on his head and ride to the bottom. Stop shooting me. Now for this trick, I had the streaking skull enabled, which when you throw a bunch of grenades, you can get up to double overshields, and I figured I would need this because, well, this elite would not stop shooting at me. Because he has 2 plasma rifles, he can do quite a bit of damage pretty quickly, even on easy difficulty. And because I'd never done this before, I didn't know if I was doing this correctly. It seemed like this elite should not be shooting at me as much as he was, and then I accidentally killed him. Let's kill him. I got there quick. I just need to keep one contained in the room. Kill them. So this just was not working. I couldn't get one of the elites to 1, be docile, and 2, get them stuck in the room. And the times that I did, I couldn't move the elite downward to get them outside of the door to be able to float on top of them. And I was pretty stuck on what to do, so I rewatched Grumpy's video and I realized I was doing something completely wrong. For some reason, I thought you just had to sword one of the jetpack elites to get them stuck in the room and let the other one fly off. But when I reviewed Grumpy's video, it appears that he killed one immediately to get the second one in a docile state. And it seemed like on some of these attempts, sometimes the jetpack elites were docile, but just when I thought I got it down, they would just randomly fly away. And there was one other clue that tipped me off to the fact that I was doing this incorrectly. Every time I would get one of these elites to stop moving, well, they wouldn't stop shooting at me, and I didn't know if that was supposed to happen. But regardless, I had an idea. In SRL's video, he eventually sends a second player to get a checkpoint in this hallway. So what if, once I got this jetpack elite trapped, I just got a checkpoint and then continuously tried to get him through the door? Would this work? I had no idea, but I was near the end of things I could think of that could actually get this to work. I didn't understand the trigger for what actually made them docile or not. So I began to think this checkpoint idea was not maybe the best idea. The positioning that I had this elite in was in the corner of this room. Now I tried repeatedly to jump at him, but his plasma rifles just kept knocking me back. For whatever reason, he eventually did become docile once I walked under his feet, but I needed him to be out of this doorway and he was pinned up against the ceiling. Without the acrophobia skull, I had no idea how I was actually going to move him downward to be able to stand on top of his head. Now eventually I got a little annoyed and just decided to punch him, but this seemed to work a little bit. There was now about a 2-foot separation from the top of his head and the ceiling. Now I saw his shields regenerate earlier, so I know I will be able to hit him again if I wait enough time. So then that became the plan. Hit him once to try to knock him down, hide in the corner of the room until his shields regenerate, and then go hit him again. Rinse, repeat. While trying to recover my shields from him repeatedly shooting me in the face, I had another idea. What if I moved one of these crates in here and tried to slightly tap him with it to get him to go down? Now, I knew there was a large risk that if I hit this crate too hard, it would probably splatter him, but I wasn't sure what else to do at this point. I knew what to do, I just couldn't do it. I didn't get it. How can I move this MF easier? He can move me like crazy. Why can't I move him like a crazy? So if this elite could knock me back repeatedly with just 2 plasma rifles, my thought was, well, why didn't I just do the same exact thing? So what I did was I went to the next room, picked up a couple of these to dual wield, and made my way back to this elite. And this was initially promising. I moved him a couple of feet, however, I almost killed him in about 0.5 seconds, so I'd need to make sure his shields regenerated before I shot him again. Dude. Yeah, so I didn't want to go get plasma rifles from the other room every time he died, so I decided to brute force this method. I had a checkpoint, so it didn't matter really if he died, so my plan was now to just throw a grenade in the corner and hope he made it to the floor. And if he did, hope that he didn't fly off. Yeah, the plasma grenade, I think, is the trick. Oh, it actually worked. Why is he flying away now? So while the grenade trick eventually was able to get him unlodged, what I think happened was I pushed him a little bit too fast, his feet lifted in the air, and this activated him to fly away. I didn't realize this at the time, but looking back, I think that did it. Now I tried this one more time and I was able to successfully get this elite floating in the middle of the air such that I could actually jump on top of his head. Now it was just a matter of hoping that he didn't fly off. Why the fuck is he taking off now? I think I have a terrible setup for this. I thought this was going to be a lot easier, and it's taking forever. Ugh. So I was determined to pull this off, but I had already wasted probably an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to get this set up. My checkpoints for this were basically null and void. So I restarted the mission, got a better setup, and after a few attempts of just going in and bashing one of the elites to death, while hoping that the other would just freeze, it actually worked. And instead of having a terrible setup where he was stuck in the corner and I had to try to get him out every time, he was floating in the middle of the room, so if I could just push him out, get on top of his head, and he didn't fly off, I could stand on top of his head and finally pull this off. Now at this point it seemed like this was actually working, so all I'd need to do is just wait to see if I could steer him to the bottom of the map. Now the direction he goes is the direction you're standing on his body, so if you're standing towards his back, he'll go forward. If you're standing towards his front, he'll go backwards. So this wasn't a complete AFK process, I did need to dial it in a little bit. I'm steering him lightly. Think it's actually gonna work? I'm basically steering him by standing on different parts of his back. Further back, the faster he goes. I want him to slow down. I go up a little bit. He should just keep sliding. I just don't want a chance getting off of him to position and then him just flying away. This isn't exactly the most optimal route, it doesn't look like. So towards the end of this journey, I thought I was getting closer and closer to the cliffside, but judging by the geometry of this rock, I was actually going in the crack between these Covenant structures. And if I didn't fall straight off the edge while I was still on top of the elite's head, this would mean that I would have to jump down to push him forward to adjust him. And this was my biggest fear. I didn't want him to just fly off the second I jumped off of him. Motherfucker. While it took me a couple more tries to get this set up again, I was now getting it consistently. However, this time I was not going on that side of the exit. Because the rock leads right down to that flat area, I would need to go on the other side where there's more slanted surfaces so I could actually fall to the bottom of the map. Just gotta conquer this ramp. Okay, did it. Ray tracing is the hardest part of the journey. I just need to make sure I get off this freaking cliff and then I can go AFK for like 2 hours. I feel like both these weapons are dangerous to have in my hand. I really hope he can make it down this part. Oh, this is scary. Oh, not so scary. Very slow descent. Okay, moment of truth. About to go off the edge. Get a little bit more square on him. Now we wait. So based on the rate that I was falling down to get to the bottom of this map, I figured it was probably going to be at least an hour of just AFK. So I was looking at other things on my other monitor, and the absolute worst case scenario happened. The elite decided that he was not going to be the vehicle that was going to transport me to the bottom of the map. Hit me with a couple of hard, fast jukes, and I fell off and I didn't even know. I decided at this point, after almost 3 hours, that one last attempt was all that I was going to give this. If I didn't make it, fine. But this time, I was actually going to pay attention on my descent. And as I was falling, I realized that the elite just starts taking off like crazy once he hits a certain point underneath those conveyor belts. So this meant I'd have to strap in. So although that elite was going really fast towards the end, I actually lived and made it to the bottom of the map. However, someone called me right before this happened, which is the reason I'm not speaking or celebrating. And as it turns out, the bottom of this map is even further than I thought. If you look up, you can't even see all of the structures because the draw distance is too far away. And another hilarious thing is, well, that elite, once he gets to the bottom of the map, he is determined to get to his spot. And I was curious whether or not he would fly all the way back up into the map to join the fight. And while it was hard to tell if he was getting further and further away, it appeared just that. Now, I waited for probably over 5 minutes until he disappeared out of my sight, but I can confirm that this elite will go to the playable map no matter how long it takes him. And that's also a testament to how far the bottom of this map really is. It took him over 5 minutes of consecutive flying to get back up. I got a call pretty much as soon as I started going down. So I got down here in like no time. I thought it was going to be like an hour or two. But it's freaking, this is huge. Like I'm walking, and I'm not even on like one part of the mission. There's this huge cubby over here. I want to try to get to that, but like, I do not want to try to get down here again. So if I do it, it's going to be like segmented where I use acrophobia. But yeah, this walk is insane, dude. This map must have been half the freaking game. I'm trying to get to that slot though. Or that one. That one would be crazy. But I got here solo. Pretty sick.